just wanted to sort of establish who we've got in the audience today, because obviously everything we've written or written up here comes from an agency perspective. So I just wanted to get a feel about who we've got here. So do we have other agencies here? I can't actually see anything either, but yeah, and do we have people from the corporate side? And hotels, DMCs? So we've got a mix of everybody. Like I say, I mean, the seminar that I've been volunteered for is how to remain creative in the face of risk and health and safety. I think everybody in here, this is obviously something that's touched us all one way or another, either directly or for those DMCs that constantly get briefs from your agencies saying, we've got to be creative, and you just wonder what creative means. And those from the corporate side as well that ask their agencies or ask the DMCs directly to be creative when in fact creativity is probably something that it means different things to different people. So what we decided to do, or what I decided to do, was break down the definitions as we understand them to be. Risk and health and safety is something that is a massive part of our everyday lives now, and I think you can sort of you can explore it until you're blue in the face, but the bottom line is there is no such thing as no risk. So essentially what we're doing is just making things as safe as ultimately possible wherever it may be, and investigating where obvious risks and perhaps some of the less obvious risks may be. And I would also say to define creativity as well is, again, people have a different idea on what creativity is, but we feel it's generating new solutions, new ideas, recycling old ideas but making them look new. But at the bottom line, creativity, as I say, is different to all. I don't think, some people define creativity as being very much out there, and it's got to be, you know, I don't know, their MD comes in cartwheeling down the middle of a room or whatever it might be. But we sort of see creativity in lots of different ways. It might be financially, in terms of making something so much more affordable by looking at the way you're doing something. It could be working with your suppliers on, you know, there are certain destinations around the world where they're great destinations, but unfortunately everything you get back will be the same old, same old. So it's repackaging some of those when you know you're fixed as to what you have there. We go through. I'm going to start with the dry stuff, the health and safety, because I think it is dry. It isn't something that we all love, but it's something that's here to stay, and it's something that we have an onus of responsibility to look at. Now, P and MM have taken this quite seriously over the last few years, and we've gotten the UK's Health and Safety Executive involved. We also have somebody that is dedicated to this in the organisation, and I do understand that not all companies have that. I would say most of the corporate people or the corporate clients do tend to have somebody that's dedicated to that. But we wanted to take this as much more than a tick box exercise. So we've dedicated a lot of time, effort and resource into this. And our 5-step approach is, as you see there, I mean, obvious stuff. None of this is rocket science, but it's what you do with this information once you have it. And it's about being cooperative in what you're asking your suppliers as well, so it doesn't come as a big surprise afterwards that, you know, just by going through these, they don't put in their proposals anything from quad bikes to cable cars or whatever else, because they may perceive it or may understand it as being you know, we want a dry proposal, because it's obviously not that case. But we look at the proposals that come in and identify the hazards and assess the risk, who may be harmed. Again, it's very easy to be very obvious on this one. Obviously, you think about your delegates, but it's not always about your delegates. You have an onus of responsibility for your suppliers, for your staff, of course. So it's assessing the risk and who may be harmed. Examine existing controls. Again, we probably all here represent different countries from around the world, and we operate in different countries. And I think the UK, this is probably not something to brag about, but we have, I would say, one of the more developed system of analysis on risk, probably because we've had more than our fair shares of accidents. You know, you go back into the 70s and 80s and early 90s with all of the train crashes and pile-ups and fires on the underground and things like this. And that actually what we have done in this country is at least learnt from that and put in rules and regulations. And I guess that's the positive that comes out of very negative situations. The flip side of that is you know, many companies and many are averse to risk, or they may see something that's perfectly safe as long as it's handled well as a risky thing to do. So examining the existing controls, the obvious stuff, I guess. You know, it's if you've got boys' toys there, you know, motorbikes or quads or something that may be in the room, or well, probably not in the room, but in the venue, that you want to make sure that there's people that understand how to work them and the first aid, and everybody's licensed and so on. And then we propose actions. This is the way we work. We propose actions that we feel that our suppliers should be taking as the very, very minimum standards to ensure that minimum risk. As I said before, you can't get rid of risk, but it's how you deal with it. And once that's been done, the life of a program, as we all know, could be months and months and months. It's regular revision. Things change, things evolve. It's very, very simple to make a program change as you're going along, and then, you know, forget to actually do the risks. I'm going to come on to something at the very, very end, which is a bit of a case study, and those involved will, of course, remain completely nameless. But I'll come on to something which I think identifies how risk may have changed a few things, and certainly might have put a bit of a stop on the creativity or made us do things differently. So there's our 5-step approach. And again, the obvious stuff is the influences that are out there that you've got to consider. You in the middle, whether you're a hotel, a DMC, an agency, a corporate, it doesn't matter who you are, but there's so many different things. There's industry bodies. Again, in this country, but not uniquely to this country, we have sort of certain standards that may be suggested, even if they're not enshrined in law, by our governing bodies, be them things like Eventia or so on. The media. Is anybody here from the media? Any area of the media? Bad stories sell. It's a fact. Things go wrong. You know, you don't want to be blamed of taking creativity over what is safe for your audience. And the fact is, we may all sort of lament over certain things we read in the media, but we all read them, and that's the things that sell. So we've got to be very careful about that. And how you handle if things do go wrong, because you will be judged afterwards. Your clients, fundamentally, whether they be internal, external, it doesn't matter. Your clients, they will come with certain restrictions quite often. Of course, the law goes without saying, and that's actually probably one of the more difficult parts that I guess everybody here will have seen. The law in one country could be vastly different to the law in another country. You operate within the law of your own country, and that just might not be compatible. So you have to find that sort of common denominator. Health and safety executive, again, in this country, we're quite blessed with the fact that we do have advice at our fingertips should we need it. Again, not everybody has that, so we can all learn, I guess, from our suppliers and also our clients. Your suppliers, coming to that, whether that be a restaurant, whether that be a venue, a hotel, it doesn't matter. But, you know, again, some places are a little bit more strict about what they do. Often it's about branding, fine. Branding is good because that's an obvious way of showing some kind of creativity, but this, I guess it's less of an issue now, bearing in mind the sort of social climate that we have, the economic climate that we have, where people don't want to have their names flashed up everywhere. But it's an issue. It's something that it can affect. It's an influence. And, of course, your employees. Again, I guess that most of us have colleagues, or you are a boss of a company or whatever it might be. You have to take into account your employees, how long they've been working. There's law to cover that, but at the same time, everybody in this industry, it's probably one of the worst, does tend to flout that law.